Well, I got another couple of little tidbits before we move on, although always this will be in the background because we're basically laying out a body of evidence from episode to episode, and it's all interlinked. Obviously, we can't talk about Atlantis without the chronostratigraphic context, which is essentially the Younger-Dryas. So I thought that it would be insightful and helpful to probe into the details about the Younger-Dryas a little bit further, because we are looking at sort of the dividing line, the great dividing line in the history of humans on planet Earth.
Yeah.
The 200,000 year plus history of modern humans on Earth has this big dividing line, this big abyss between modern history and prehistory. If we assume, if we're allowed to push modern history back to 8, 9, perhaps 10,000 years, which is becoming more and more feasible, and as long as we don't necessarily restrict the definition of civilization as being the appearance of writing, because that right now tends to be the criteria by which we determine, were these people civilized? Well, they wrote things down, right? That's been more or less the criteria. And at what point do we see people writing things down? Well, 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, generally in that range, give or take. But when do we see people establishing agriculture? When do we see people domesticating animals? When do we see the dispersion of languages? We can take all of that back to the very early Holocene, the first cities that would be part of the historical record, right? We go back to the early Holocene for that, 8,000, 9,000, maybe 10,000 years ago.
Yeah, Jericho.
Now,
right.
yeah, then we go just another millennium or two beyond that, and now we're into the big period of flux, the transition zone between literally two world ages. Because if we define the previous world, it was a very, very different world than the world we inherited in the Holocene. And so I think one of the objectives of these discussions that we're doing here would be to help shed light and elaborate specifically how different our planet is now from what it was 15 or 20,000 years ago, while modern humans were living on the planet. And you see, we can't really, I mean, we can pick up the artifacts, certainly we can pick up the tools and the debitage and the debris left over from the activities of early prehistoric humans. But I think that's only telling us part of the story, a small part of the story. And in order, I think, to get at the bigger picture, we have to set a context. We have to understand the environment in which the human story is playing out. So to that end, we will spend time going into the details of the Late Pleistocene and the transition between the Pleistocene and the Holocene, which was marked by this rapid disappearance of the great ice sheets and the rapid rising of sea level and the major shifting of ecosystems and biomes around the planet, the collapse of old ecosystems and the rise of new ecosystems. The transition is truly extraordinary, the disappearance of the great megafauna. So what I would like to do, and if this is of interest to the listeners, is go into that, get into the richness of the detail, looking at the animal life, looking at the nature of the global environment, and then being able to talk about what happened to cause these dramatic changes. What happened to this planet that caused it to shift, literally to shift gears so powerfully and dramatically. I mean, think about this, okay? If you took from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean today, and we went in there and we had this gigantic bulldozer, and we were to bulldoze the entire country of Canada from the Atlantic to the Pacific, and I mean every tree down, gone, right? All of the forests are reaching from Hudson Bay out to the Western Cordillera and beyond to the Pacific Ocean. Boom, we took every tree out, we clear cut, right? That would be a pretty dramatic environmental change, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, that's exactly what happened, except now we also have to add a mile and a half of ice over that whole landmass, right? And what I'm trying to do is get people to ponder that and try to actually visualize what we're talking about and appreciate what that's implying. It's implying something that nobody's figured out yet, really. Nobody has the answer. That's the thing, and I want to repeat that. Nobody has figured it out. I think there's teams of scientists out there and individual scientists that are, at this point, converging on the answer, and I think that you know, the quest for an answer has been considerably accelerated now that we have expanded our thinking to embrace the cosmic domain. I think now we're going to be able to get somewhere with trying to understand the changes that have engulfed this planet repeatedly, and most especially and most recently 11 or 12,000, 13,000 years ago during this tremendous time of transition. But there's all these other little anomalies that the standard model of history cannot explain.